Alright, let me tell you what just went down on First Take, because it honestly felt like one of those segments where everyone at the table knew something was wrong, and they weren't afraid to say it out loud. The whole conversation started with this simple but brutal question: what are the Raiders actually doing to prepare for game day? And the answers, well, they weren't pretty. First Take pointed out that in back-to-back weeks, with plenty of time to get ready for both the Chargers and the Commanders, the Raiders came out looking like a team that had done almost nothing in practice. They said the film shows a group that looks sloppy, undisciplined, and completely unprepared, and it's hard to argue with that when you've watched them lately. From there, the panel went phase by phase. Special teams? A disaster. They brought up how many yards the Raiders have been giving up, estimating it was close to 250 just against Washington. They even reminded viewers about the kick return touchdown and how it could have been 2 if not for one desperate tackle. That's the kind of breakdown that sets the tone early and digs your team into a hole right from the jump. Defense? They said the word was execution, or in this case, the lack of it. No pressure, sloppy tackling, no adjustments. It looked like the Raiders walked in without a plan to stop a Washington team that everyone knew was going to run the football with a backup quarterback under center. And then, of course, they got to the offense. First Take didn't hold back here. They called it the biggest joke of all 3 phases. And this is where things really turned. Because it wasn't just about one bad game, the hosts kept going back to the bigger picture. They said the Raiders look like a team that doesn't have an identity, that the players don't look motivated, and that the coaching staff seems either stubborn or completely disconnected from what's happening on the field. They even compared it to the Dark McDaniels days, saying the same old mistakes keep repeating themselves. And to hear that comparison on national TV, that's tough because it hits at something deeper. The idea that maybe nothing has really changed. Then they started talking offensive line, and if you're a Raiders fan, this part was painful. They ran through the numbers and dropped the bombshell. Geno Smith is on pace to be sacked 68 times this year. 68! First Take emphasized how that's not just bad, it's almost historic. A level of punishment that no quarterback should be taking in the modern NFL. And the scary part? A lot of it is coming down to scheme and stubbornness. They brought up the fact that players like Jackson Powers-Johnson are being used on special teams, but not in the right spot on the line. And that tells you the staff is overthinking continuity instead of just putting guys in their best position. They flat out said it. This coaching staff looks more worried about proving themselves right than doing what's right. And you could tell the panel was frustrated. They questioned Brennan Carroll's role, asking whether the offensive line has regressed because of his coaching. They threw out last season's lineup, reminding everyone that when JPJ was at center and Meredith was at guard, things worked. So why go away from it now? Their point was simple. It's not rocket science. Just play the best players where they belong. But instead, the Raiders are stuck in this cycle of stubborn decision, and it's costing them games and putting Geno in harm's way. Now, they didn't just hammer on the negatives. They gave a little shine to Trey Tucker, saying he's one of the few bright spots in this offense right now. 9 targets, 8 catches, 145 yards, and 3 touchdowns. First Take made it clear. Tucker deserves more touches. He brings that speed, that pre-snap motion, that ability to stretch the defense vertically. But even with that breakout, they circled back to the same root problem. If the offensive line can't block, if the play calling keeps forcing long developing routes, then none of it matters. The talent's there, but it can't even be properly evaluated, because everything starts with protection. And right now, that foundation is crumbling. They also touched on Michael Mayer's injury and concussion protocol, stressing how cautious the Raiders need to be with him after what happened last year. And they said losing him could hurt the team's ability to run effective 12 personnel sets, something that actually works when they commit to it. But again, it all ties back to the same frustration: inconsistency, lack of preparation, and questionable decision-making. The segment wrapped up with a bigger picture question. How do the Raiders stack up against Chicago, against Caleb Williams, and Ben Johnson, the coach they passed on? That comparison is going to dominate the headline, because if the Bears look sharper, more creative, more disciplined, And right now they do. Then it just highlights how badly the Raiders might have miscalculated in their coaching choices. First Take made it clear, this Week 4 game isn't just about the standing. It's about perception. It's about whether this franchise is trending in the right direction or already stuck in another spiral. And I'll be real with you. Hearing all of this laid out on national TV, you feel the frustration, you feel the doubt, but you also feel that little spark of truth in it. Because Raider Nation knows this isn't good enough. The panel said it best. The fans deserve better.